Hey everybody, welcome to the Hamakua Homestead. If you're new here, my name is Tiffany, and today we are venturing into the world of sourdough. I have never used sourdough to make an actual loaf of bread before, so I am very excited for today. What got me started on wanting to do sourdough was Anna over at the Fermented Homestead. She did a collaboration last year called Fall Into Sourdough. And that got me going, that got me interested in knowing how it works, how to feed it, how to take care of it, and all of that good stuff. So it has taken many, many months, but here we are. We are going to be making our first sourdough loaf. Now, where does one go when they want to learn how to make sourdough? Farmhouse on Boone. So that's where I am getting today's recipe from. I will link it in the description box down below. The first step that we need to do is go ahead and feed our starter, which I have already done this morning. Your sourdough starter needs to be active and bubbly. So you're gonna do that 4 to 12 hours before you're ready to make your bread. After you make sure that your starter is ready for your recipe, the next thing you wanna do is go ahead and combine your warm water, salt, flour, and your starter. So we're gonna go ahead and combine 1 1/3 cups of warm water, half a cup of our starter, 2 teaspoons of salt, and 3 1/2 cups of flour. Mix this with a wooden spoon or your hands in a large mixing bowl. Cover it up with a plastic wrap lid, or in my case, I'm using a tea towel, and set aside for 30 minutes. According to our instructions, this allows for the flour to rehydrate with the water. We have let our dough sit for 30 minutes, and now it's time to do our first stretch and fold. So for the stretch and fold, we are to take the outer edge, I guess, fold it over top, turn it a quarter of the way, pull it out from here, fold it over top, turn it a quarter of the way, fold it over top. One more time. Stretching it, pulling it over the top. Cover it up and wait another 30 minutes. 30 minutes later, we're doing another stretch and fold. And wait another 30 minutes. And that's the last step for now. We did our stretch and fold 3 times. Now we are going to go ahead and wait. We're going to keep it in a nice warm place. Here, the climate, and it's summertime, it'll be just fine on the countertop. It's a good 80 degrees all the time. We're just gonna let it sit for 6 to 12 hours, or until it has risen to double the size that it is now. In my case, because of what time it is in the afternoon, it is going to be overnight. It is the next morning, bright and early. Ooh, that looks gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Onto a lightly floured surface. We are going to turn this dough out. Says we are going to turn it onto itself. And create a ball. I'm creating tension on the top layer. A lot of times the stickiness of the counter would help do this, but the flour is preventing that from happening at the moment. So I'm using my other hand to keep it still while I'm pushing under and stretching the top ever so gently. I'm not pushing in to pop any air bubbles or anything. I mean, it's going to happen, but I'm not trying to. Lightly flouring my bowl. If you had a Banneton, this would be the time to use it. Now it says to turn it over and shape it. Alright, that looks good. So now we're going to put it into our vessel. Now, we do have options here. It says that we can, it says seam side up. Never mind. It says to cover it with a plastic or whatever you're going to use, and then let it rise in the refrigerator for 12 to 15 hours. But it also says that instead of putting it in the fridge, you can go ahead and let it rise at room temperature for 3 to 4 hours. I am going to opt for that today because I'm going to leave for work right now and it's a short shift, and that way when I get back I can go ahead and bake our bread. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave this. Just going to leave this right here on the counter and I'll see you guys after work. Okay, so I'm back from work now. It is very early afternoon and our dough is looking really, really beautiful. So I'm going to go ahead and keep this covered up, and the next step in the instructions for all of us beginners is to go ahead and preheat the Dutch oven at 500 degrees for an hour. Here's our Dutch oven. All right, so now we just wait an hour. Well, that was nothing shy of a disaster. I realized the moment that I put our sourdough into the oven that I was using wax paper instead of parchment paper. I hope that our 2 days of effort have not gone to waste, but the moment that it hit the wax paper and the heat of the Dutch oven, the bottom of it cooked immediately. So right here, attached to the wax, we have our own little sourdough pita bread. Oh well. I don't have parchment paper, which is something I should have thought of way ahead of time, but oh well. So I greased the Dutch oven and put it in, and we're gonna follow the instructions as they are and cross our fingers and hope for the best. After 20 minutes, we're just gonna remove the lid. And of course, we are hoping for the best. Sure looks pretty. Okay, so now we bake for an additional 15 to 25 minutes or until golden brown at 475. It has been 15 minutes and it's definitely ready to come out. No, just leave it on there for a couple minutes. And as fast as that, the bread is almost gone. The bread eaters here in the house are satisfied, so I'm gonna take that as a win. This is a wonderful recipe to learn off of for all of us beginners, so I highly recommend it. Again, that recipe will be linked in the description box down below. And I would like to take a couple of moments to point out a couple of things as a beginner myself to help you when you try out your first loaf of sourdough. First of all, don't mistake wax paper for parchment paper. It's not gonna work, I promise. The second thing is, do not oil the bottom of the Dutch oven. It definitely made the bottom of the bread too crispy and it cooked too fast compared to the rest of the loaf. And the other thing that I would definitely suggest that you guys do is make sure that you time it out properly. Each of the sourdough recipes that you're looking for will definitely have different timelines for your bulk rise, your fermentation rise, all of these things. Make sure that you allow in your schedule for that to happen according to the recipe. I think that your overall product is definitely going to be better if you're able to do that. So there's another first for us under the belt and we are good to go. Thank you so much for joining me today on the Hamakua Homestead. I'll see you again soon.